Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the How I Failed in
How I Failed in Podcasts.
How I Failed in Podcasts. Hello and welcome to How I Failed in Business podcast. Did I say that right? That sounded better.
That was better that time.
Perfect. My name is Rob Spence, one of your hosts, and as always, I'm joined by
Sophia Grace, your other host.
And in this podcast, we want to bring to you business stories, entrepreneurial journeys, but to talk about the failures, the mishaps, the missteps, and everything else in between. To remind everyone that not everything is plain sailing and that mistakes do happen. It's the picking ourselves up and getting on with them that counts. Now, today, we are joined by Sue McEniff. Oh, I've said it wrong, haven't I? Oh.
You have to say it quickly and pretend you're Irish, and it comes out.
He took a real run up to it as well, didn't he?
And don't pronounce the C.
Okay, can you just repeat it to me?
McEniff.
McEniff. Okay. Oh God, I'm blushing now. Hold on, just give me a minute.
You're not alone.
Just give me a minute. Right, Sue McEniff.
My favourite one where I got called McEniff.
McEniff.
That's creative.
Okay. Has my blushing gone down?
Yeah.
No.
Oh gosh. Not the fan.
Fan has had to come out.
You're having a hot flush.
I'm going through the change.
The change.
Sue McEniff. Okay. Okay. Today we are joined by.
You've got you're in your head now.
Rob, it's all right. I have to do those short videos where I have to kind of say.
But he just powers through those.
There are several. I can have several takes. It's fine, honestly.
That's fine. Right, let's go back in. I can't wait to edit this one up. Today we are joined by the CEO of Charity Link, Sue McEniff.
Hello.
Oh, sorry, no. Let me say that all again.
McEniff. You were nearly there, but it's okay.
Oh.
Amazing.
Right. It's not like
Amazing.
Oh, right, okay.
We're a testament to our name.
We are failing badly today. Oh, I'm so hot. Right. Today, we are joined by Sue McEniff, the CEO of Charity Link.
Hello.
Hi, Sue.
Hello.
That was very flawless, the whole introduction.
We're going to make it look that way.
I don't know, I might keep that all in. I might just keep it all in.
So smooth, Rob.
Thank you, Sue. But look, Sue, thanks for coming in.
Thank
Travelled
you.
all the way from Ashby today, I think, to come and join us. But tell us about you, tell us about the role you play, and tell us about Charity Link.
Okay, well, I said my name's Sue, but I know lots of people know me as Susie, Charity Sue, Curly Sue, so hello. I'm the CEO of Charity Link. I've been doing the role for 2 years now. Joined 16 years ago as a fundraising manager and loved the organisation, was completely bought in as soon as I stepped through the door. We support over 6,500 people each year. Anybody who's experiencing financial hardship. I love the broad nature of our beneficiaries and the reach that we have. And we provide essential items. So what we do isn't sexy, but providing cookers, washing machines, beds, school uniforms, clothing has such a massive impact on people's lives. And I have an amazing team who are dedicated and committed. And we do some fabulous work.
Amazing. And I've met, you over the years. I think, to be fair, the last time I saw you was at a charity night over at Crafty Burger, I think.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago now. And I've bumped into various members of your team, and everyone seems to have like a real passion for delivering this great work in the community. Is that what got you into it in the first place?
Kind of, but I have a story behind that.
Oh, you have warned us about these stories. Yeah.
So we'll save that one.
Okay.
From my perspective, I'm working class. I was a free school meal kid, although I didn't actually take the meals because you had to queue up and get a token. So completely highlighting your financial situation to all your peers. So I know how it's like on the other side. I know it's like to go without. I know how damaging it can be in terms of going through the education system and not having the right school uniform. My mum, bless her, she bought me in the sale a Marks and Spencer's grey jumper. which was a size too small. It was in the sale. And I also have eczema, so I'm quite sensitive to some fabrics. And this was wool, and I can't really wear wool because it brings me out in a rash. So I was about 13, 14, and ladies, you know, this is quite a vulnerable and difficult time for young ladies, where your body is going through changes, and to wear a jumper that was a size too small that also brought you out in a rash was not a good look. But so I understand what it is to go without, and that really brought me in to what Charity Link do, because we will help anybody regardless of the circumstances, and to ensure that people do have the essential items they need. And that was a hook for me.
If you, obviously I don't want to kind of get too much into like what's going on in the world at the minute, but have you guys seen an uplift in people coming to you for help and support over the past sort of 12 months or so? Or
to be honest, it started at the beginning of the pandemic. We, on average, help about 5,500 vulnerable people each year, between 5 and 5,500. We saw an uplift originally when there was changes in the social welfare system, and that was in 2012, where we started to see, which we did see previously, but it was quite rare to see what we would deem as people experiencing deprivation. Because there was still the welfare system providing some support. And when we did see people who were experiencing deprivation where they had no water, they did not plug their fridge in because they couldn't afford to, if they had a fridge or a cooker. And it was mainly around people who had very severe mental health problems and they'd fallen through the welfare system. When the social welfare changes came in 2012, we suddenly saw a massive uplift in people who were experiencing deprivation. And this was families with children in the household. There was lots of sanction benefits at that point. We would be helping parents who, you know, they were doing everything they were supposed to do, but the system didn't allow for them. You know, they would upload their job searches and the system would crash. And therefore, their information didn't go through, and they were sanctioned, and there'd be children in the household, and they would be just literally surviving on child benefit, or in lots of cases, nil income. So we saw that initially, and that has really remained since. But when, obviously, Boris made his announcement, we were already starting to do preparations of how we would respond to, because we knew there'd be an instant uplift in need. And also, how could we get the show on the road immediately? And what did we need to put into place? And it impacted in so many different areas of the organisation. We were back up and running within 24 hours. And we have been there the whole time throughout the pandemic. And we just saw an instant uplift. So we went from 5,500 people to 6,500 people. We also saw a change in the demographics of who we were supporting. Many people who were in work, who'd lost their jobs during the pandemic, particularly around the hospitality trade. Again, we helped a family. Both parents had never claimed a welfare benefit previously. They were both in the hospitality trade and had both lost their jobs, and they had 2 children in the household. Again, they were literally surviving on just child benefit because it took universal credit up to 5 weeks to come through. So they had 5 weeks of literally nothing. So we responded. We set up new funds to enable us to respond to the need, which was amazing that we could do that because we were inundated. And to be honest with you, that level hasn't dropped since. So as soon as we came out of the pandemic, we were in the cost of living crisis. And again, those people who have been and were just about managing weren't managing. And again, we were seeing people in work on low paid income or in part-time roles who basically could simply not cover their bills and their outgoings, and were what we would deem was negative budgets. So we've just continued that work, and we've built our fund portfolio up so that we could respond to that need, and it still continues. I was looking at just our statistics since April, because we can track what the need is up front, and to see, you know, what was the main reasons for people coming to us. And cost of living crisis, mental health, homelessness, moving into a new tenancy with the 4 main reasons of people needing our support. So cost of living crisis is still very much in the community.
Wow. Well, at the end of the podcast, we normally give you... Sorry, I feel like my mic's slipping away from me as I talk. Obviously, we want to hear some nice call to actions from you in terms of where the people can and find more. But I think what you do and what the whole, the whole charity do is vital and important for the community. What have you got coming up? How can people donate? How can people fundraise? How can people sort of support you guys?
Well, there's lots and lots of ways everyone can get involved. And the beauty of supporting us is that because we're tapping into charitable funds for individuals in need, we can actually make your book even more. The impact is so much more. So for every £10 donated, we can actually access £50. So even the small amount of help can actually make a big difference in the local community. So join us on our fundraising events. We've just held our Leicester Three Peaks Challenge, which we hold...
Two Peaks.
Yeah. All the Two Peaks Challenge as it was. But technically, we did Beacon Hill twice.
Oh, okay.
So it was Three Peaks.
So it's still 3 Peaks, yeah.
So we have, that's an annual event, which is amazing. And we have so many lovely people coming to that. And so that's held every year in September. Myself and my team and other supporters, we are taking part in the Leicester race on Sunday.
Nice.
I'm doing the 10K, which is much more wiser than the half marathon.
Still a good distance.
Although I did do the half marathon last year. So there's always taking part in our challenges event, which is all on our website at charity-link.org. You can simply go onto our website and make a donation, which is absolutely fabulous. We invite businesses to join us as our Proud Business Supporter Club, which is a great environment of like-minded businesses who not only want to obviously to run a successful business, but also to meet like-minded business owners and business people who want to have a genuine and tangible impact in the communities where we all live and work. So that's another option as well. But honestly, just give us a bell, pick up the phone, drop us an email. We would love to hear from anybody, and we're always open to ideas, and we will join you and we will support you.
I love that. We'll make sure we'll put your website in the show notes below.
Thank you.
What do you think, Sophia? Should we do the 3 Peaks
I was
next
just
year?
thinking, I think that could be something that I could get interested in. I like going on a walk. So a walk for charity. There we go, I'm sold.
It's fabulous, trust me. We have little pit stops on the way.
There we go.
You get bubbles at the end. We're with you the whole
Honestly.
way.
You've sold it to
You've
Sophia.
sold it. I was ready to buy. You've sold it again.
It's always sunny.
What about you, Rob?
Never rains.
Never rains.
You're not maybe the most outdoorsy type.
Right, hold on. I don't know. First of all, I don't know why you looked me up and down before you said that. I'm outdoorsy.
I will say you owned one tent which you gave to me because you never used it.
Oh, camping! I'm never gonna succumb to camping. But I've braved the cold and the rain
For charity, you do
for
it.
charity. I'll do anything. It comes back to what you were saying earlier about when it's horrendous and when you put in loads of pain through yourself. Fundraising goes through the roof. So one of the first fundraising things I did was I was cycling from Canterbury to Counsthorpe in one full swoop. So it was 185. Wow. I know, impressive, right? 185 miles. We just got over the Thames. We didn't cycle over the Thames. We had to get a bridge. And various reasons, I fell off the bike, snapped my collarbone in half.
Ouch. A
lot of pain. I had to go to Basildon Hospital on my own. I was lost, confused, high on gas and air. Still convinced that I had a conversation with God whilst taking this gas and air. It was insane. But upon breaking the collarbone, fundraising went through the roof. Once people realised that...
You're in pain and suffering.
What I'd say is if you ever need...
So if we push Rob down one of the peaks...
Yeah, if I go missing... Think of all the money we could raise. But I was having a bit of a...
Just made a mental note.
No, it's all on recording. You'll be fine. I had a little stalk of your LinkedIn earlier on today, just so I could sort of learn a bit more about you and your history. And your history is actually more varied than what I thought it was, with quite a strong marketing background, would you say? Yeah. So you said you got a bit of a story as to how you got into Charity Link.
I have,
Is this a nice segment to unleash that story upon us, or is this one of the 2 truths and a lie stories you got planned?
No, I think it's time to unleash this story.
Okay,
but
fantastic.
So sit back, get yourself comfortable. It's a long one, but you'll like it, I hope.
That's what we like.
So, yes, you're right. My background is very much marketing, and I worked for quite a significant period of time to 2 nationwide retailers. Absolutely loved it. retail will always run through me, even though obviously I've changed sectors, but I'll explain why. Absolutely loved it, loved the cut and thrust of it. It was just amazing. I was in this company, had a really still that family focus, really supportive environment. You could be creative. If you made mistakes, it was okay. You learnt from them. So it's really great company to work for. I was pregnant with my son, who's just turned 18, and is at university, and went to work one morning, and I'd been around the midwifery centre the weekend, booked myself in, talked to my director, said, this is my plan. And he's like, that's great. I then welcomed my colleague who was going to take over my role while I was on maternity leave. I said, right, we've got 3 months, make yourself comfortable, I'm going to teach you everything. In about 2 hours, I wasn't feeling very well. So I made my excuses. I went to the bathroom and realised that my pregnancy was suddenly not going as planned. My husband, I won't go into the gory details of any of this, so I'll spare you. My husband was also working for the company as well, and we were in a big open plan office, very, very modern. So I came out the bathroom and thought, I've got to get to my husband, Paul. That's just what I said. I've got to get to him and we need to go to hospital. I walked out, and I don't know what the expression on my face was, but everyone realised immediately there was something wrong. By the time I got to my husband, the chief executive was now running down the stairs going, we're calling you an ambulance. I was going, no need. It's fine. I just need to pop to the hospital, get checked. I'll be back tomorrow. My son was born at midnight that night.
Oh, no.
So that didn't quite go to plan. I turned up in delivery suite, wearing stilettos, a handbag, mobile phone, some business cards and lipstick, to which the midwives were not impressed with, I can tell you. Anyway, so my son was in neonatal, and I had no role. He couldn't even come out of his incubator. All I could do was just express my milk. And I was going, after 2 weeks, I thought, well, there wasn't at that point any provision for neonatal care in maternity cover. So I went back into work, and I went to see my HR director after 2 weeks. And I said, look, can I work and build up some hours so that when my son then comes out of hospital, because he will, I can extend my maternity leave. She said, why are you here and you look like shit? Is what she said to me. I said, yes, I know that, but please, can you help? And they said, all right, okay, we can, let's work something out. And they did, which was great, so I could extend my maternity leave. Whilst I was on maternity leave, there was things happening at the company, and I worked with 2 different retailers, and my colleague who was covering my maternity leave phoned me up in tears, and I was going, what's happened? And she said, you know, the managing director at our previous company, he's now the new chief executive of where we are now. And when they announced it, she was so shocked she fainted, because this person we knew was particularly unpleasant character. I was going, no, it'll be fine. I'll be back soon. You'll be all right. Keep talking to me. I'll be back soon. So I returned, and I walked into a completely different culture. I didn't think that one person at the top could make such a difference. Everything had changed. It was like walking into a completely different business. So we kept our heads down and we carried on. Every Monday morning, all the managers would sit round a table, and the chief executive would just take it in turns to humiliate us one by one. Male and females, however, he had a group of women who he called his girls, which were mainly the PAs. All the female managers, including myself, completely ignored. Our opinions were worthless. One of his motivational talks to me was, my dog could do better than what you have done. The job that I told him wouldn't work in the first place. So this was continuing, and I was thinking, I'm not sure this is somewhere I want to stay. Anyway, I also had the feeling that I was being pushed out because I had a baby in tow, and meetings were always being arranged on the one day that I had with my son. And so I ended up having to bring him in and just thinking, I know I'm being elbowed out here. I had a new director as well who, again, was pretty much, he thought he was the big I am and didn't care about his team at all. And I knew he was elbowing me out as well. But so then there was the talk of a conference. So this would be every manager at head office, every store manager, area manager, regional manager, all the directors and suppliers. So we're talking at least 500 people. And I was a marketing manager, and my he was a buying director really rather than marketing, basically pushed me out of this conference. Not that I wanted to speak in front of 500 people, because I know most people think I'm very comfortable with public speaking. It's not true. I'm actually quite a shy person. And the thought of actually standing up in front of 500 people absolutely terrified the life out of me. And I thought, no, I'm not being pushed out as easily as that. So I pestered and pestered and pestered him. I said, no, I should be on stage doing this presentation. And eventually he relented. And he said, right, we'll do it together. And I was like, great. So there was a rehearsal in the deepest depths of Warwickshire, which I knew they didn't want me there, and they were very scant on the details, and I was told very last minute. And then they all disappeared from head office and they all made their way there. No one said, oh, do you want a car share or do you want a lift? And I was still busy in the office working. And I realised they'd all gone. And I thought, right, just finish off what I'm doing. I'll just jump in the car. Obviously, days before sat-nav, it was the AA route that you had to print off on paper.
I still remember those days.
And have on the car seat. So I printed that frantically. I scribbled some notes on the back of what I was going to say, so I had a rough idea what I was going to talk about. Jumped in the car. Right, I'm on the petrol light. It'll be all right. I can get there. It's fine. I know where I'm going. I've got a really, really good sense of direction. Until I don't, and it goes horribly, horribly wrong. So I'm trying to get there. I knew I was late. I'm now lost in Warwickshire countryside, not seen a petrol station. I've now travelled 30 miles on the petrol light, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to break down in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't phone them to say, because they'd probably just go, forget it, just turn around and go back to the office. So I couldn't even phone them. So I managed to pull into just this random industrial estate of all these small companies in the middle of nowhere. So I thought, right, I've got to improvise now. So I pulled in, and this man just happened to be walking down the pavement. I jumped out the car and said, look, this is a situation, massively lost. This is my route. And I kind of handed it to have a look at. And as I reached into the car to get my mobile phone, I turned back and he'd gone. So now I don't know where I am. He's got my map.
We stole the map.
He's got my map and my speech, which I'd written on the back of it. And I have no idea which company he'd gone into. I only spoke to him so briefly, I couldn't describe him. I just knew he was a man. And I was thinking, oh my God, this can't possibly get any worse. So I'm standing there thinking, no, he must come back out in a minute. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I'm really starting to panic now. So I thought, right, I'm going to have to knock on, just go into every reception and see if I can find him. But I can't describe him. So, and why would anyone know reception who he was anyway? So, and then it's like, oh no, there he is. And he appeared and he went, no, you're fine. You're literally 2 minutes away. You need to go left and right and you'll be there. And by the way, there's a petrol station nearby as well. And I was like, great. Oh, thank God. So I got there, I arrived late, and so wasn't particularly welcomed at all. I picked up the vibe of, well, you've elbowed your way into this and now you can't even bother to turn up on time. So we did the rehearsal, and fortunately for me, most of the directors completely floundered on their presentation, and whereas I got mine pitch perfect, and so I proved myself. Then okay, right, you're on. So I was like, great. Well, not great because I didn't actually want to do it. I was just being very bolshy and just refusing to be pushed out. So day of the conference, 500 people, mic'd up, professional presenter. It's been filmed. Whole company's there. So I go up on stage with the buying director, and again, pitch perfect. I'm like, yes, I've done this. Susan, you've got it. However, as I was walking down the steps, my stiletto heel got caught in the metal strip that was holding the flooring down. And I started to fall down the steps. Now, I'm a clumsy person, so I'm used to falling. But this is my top 10 falls. So I'm falling down the steps, but to make matters worse, in that split second, I realised where I was going to land and where my trajectory was going. And it was going to be, I'm going to land face first in the chief executive's lap. He knew that. I knew that because I caught his eye and he was moving out the way. So, split second, and it was literally, McEniff, get your foot on the floor now. So I managed to yank my heel out, and I don't know how I did it. I've got quite long legs and big feet. I managed to get this right foot onto the floor in time as I was kind of being propelled down the stairs. I went down, and then I just popped back up with a kind of ta-da. So I sat down. I do hope my mic was switched off. But I have this thing where, when you shouldn't laugh in really inappropriate situations, and when you know it's really inappropriate, it makes you worse.
Yes.
So I basically sat in the front row, and I was just basically hysterical with laughing. And I was really trying to stop myself. So that was that. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And then afterwards, it just got worse, to be honest, in the company. And despite the things that we were telling him, if you do this, this and this, we're going to lose money, footfall, etc. He didn't listen. And basically, we could see the company wasn't going in a particularly good way. And he was very arrogant and I think annoyed the financing people and banks. So I got made redundant. I was quite fortunate, really, in hindsight, because I actually got made redundant before it went into administration. So I did get my redundancy payout. And I know a lot of colleagues who'd worked there since they were 16 got nothing. So it was a really awful situation. And also my husband was still working there. So we knew, it was only a matter of time before he got made redundant as well. I also found out that week I was pregnant with my second child. So this was not a good week, really. Although, yes, that was having a bit of a baby, but the situation wasn't very good. The HR director was very supportive and she arranged for some mentoring and coaching to get back in the job market. So I obviously approached lots of agencies. I was very upfront with the situation because I said, look, you do need to know I'm pregnant. I don't want you sending me into interviews and it becomes awkward for you. Obviously, I didn't get any phone calls from those agencies. I was ghosted. So I was relying on really what was advertised. I went for an interview with another retailer. It was a male marketing director and it was going really, really well because I've got a lot of experience. And he said, oh, what do you do in your spare time? And I said, oh, well, my hands are pretty full really with a baby. That interview ended immediately. So I went home and I did what any self-respecting woman would do in this situation. I cried. I don't normally cry, but I did cry in this situation for about 2 weeks. I moped and I cried, and I will hold my hands up. I did that until my husband just went, for God's sake, just go and do something you want to do. And I was like, I was so cross with him by not being very understanding and sympathetic and only giving me 2 weeks to cry. I was like, right. While I was at both the retailers, and also in the more recent one, I was responsible for setting the CSR programs and was working with 2 charities. I was thinking, gosh, they look so happy and they're so dedicated and they're so passionate and committed. And whilst, yes, I loved my job, I loved working in retail, but I'd done the sale, I'd worked with Microsoft, national press, local press, specialist press, product launches, brand launches. I'd done it all. And retail follows the same calendar over and over again. And I was thinking, maybe I could do that. But obviously, I can't approach any agencies. No one will touch me with a barge pole. So I was flicking through the Leicester Mercury, the job page, obviously when they did have
Showing
the job
your
page.
age now.
I know. We've done no sat nav and job page in Leicester Mercury, which was thick. And I was just flicking through and I saw this role. I was like, oh, that's like a fundraising manager. I've never fundraised really before. I think I did once Race for Life where I nearly threw up on the finish line and raised about 30 quid. Obviously, we've done bits and bobs of the charity in the head office, cake sales, etc. But I've never fundraised. I was thinking, well, this is quite an interesting charity. Obviously, it's Charity Link, and I started investigating. I was thinking, they seem really interesting. I really like what they do, but I've never fundraised. And then I left it, and it was getting really near to the deadline to submit an application. I just thought, just see if I can blag it. Got nothing to lose. I've got no queue of people wanting to employ me. So I put in the application. I didn't think anything of it. I thought they'll see through it that I have no experience. And then I got a letter for interview, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I think, well, marketing, fundraising, if you can sell a product, if you can sell a brand, can you sell a concept, an idea, and not... I think I'll give it a go. I might as well go along. It's not like I've been going to any interviews anyway. So I went along, and interview went really well. It was the chief executive at the time, and it was a supporter who was a fundraiser. So both men. But it went really, really well. I was going, oh, this is going well. This is good. So at the end of the interview, he said, any questions or anything you'd like to tell us? And I said, well, I do feel I need to let you know that I'm pregnant. I literally, by their faces, threw a grenade into that room. And they were just stunned, silent. It was just silence. I could see them thinking, we don't know what to ask. We don't know what we can ask. And I said, look, you can ask me anything you want. Quite happy to have an open, transparent conversation. I'm really interested in the role. I do need maternity leave, obviously, but I will come back. And they're like, okay. I was thinking, well, that's the end of that. So I went home and didn't hear anything immediately. And I thought, well, so be it. I was honest. I showed integrity. I can only do that. And, that's the end of that. And, so be it. And then a week later, a letter came through the door and it said, we're inviting you to a second interview. I was a bit like, oh, okay. So, and they said, can you do a presentation? I was like, okay. Can you do a presentation on how to gain corporate support for fundraising for a retail company? And I was like, yes, I can do this. I can do this. So I did the second interview, and this time it was with the chairman and the chief executive. And I could see the presentation went down well, and there's lots of, they were nodding their heads and smiling, and this is going okay. And so we finished that and asked some questions and had a bit of a chat. And then the chairman said, can we have obviously you've told us you're pregnant, can we have an open conversation? I said, absolutely, ask me whatever you want. And so we had a conversation around it. I said, look, I'm really bought in now to this role and this charity. And yes, I would like 6 months off maternity, if possible. Baby's due August, September time. I think this must have been about April, May. I could start immediately. And I will come back. I'm sure I will come back. And so that went well. And as you probably realise, they offered me the job, which was amazing. And the thing that swung it was the fact that I showed integrity and I told them up front. And that's what swung it with the board of trustees. And I still joke with my chairman. He's not the chair at the moment, but he's still in the board of trustees going, I told you I'd come back. Obviously, this is 16 years later. And he said, yes, and I always know how old your daughter is because I know you've been here 16 years and she was born in the August. And I did say to him, it's quite a number of years ago, I went, Clive, you do realise that I've never fundraised before and I had no experience. And he's like, yep, we did know that. And that is how I ended up at Charity Link in the third sector. Oh. And I wouldn't regret a thing and I haven't looked back since.
Wow.
Loads to take away from there, and there's loads of questions. It also makes a lot of sense as to why you wouldn't allow me to name the names of the companies that you were talking about. I'll ask you my question off air if that's all right. But I want to probe deeper into some of those points. We're going to take a very short break and we'll be back in just a second. Do you need digital marketing services?
No, you cut me off.
You weren't going to say anything.
What even is digital marketing? That's something we hear from clients all the time. It's an ever-changing world on the internet at the moment, and you can't be expected to know it all, but we can, and we do. You can contact one of our digital marketing agents today and find out exactly what services we could offer you. Are you struggling with social media management, personal branding, website design, SEO? Would you like to see what paid ads might be able to do for you? Or perhaps you want to run a new campaign over email? We can handle this all for you. So get in touch today.
Should I have looked at you? So.
You do the rest of it.
You were smashing that. I don't want to take that over. Yeah, visitors at www.paragonsaleSolutions.co.uk. I'm very blessed to have a great digital marketing team. We've got Sophia, who has come in and absolutely smashed it, and we've got Molly, who is an ever-present gem of a digital marketing whiz. If you need any help in getting more bookings, inquiries, leads, sales, anything like that, get in touch. Hello and welcome back to How I Failed in Business. Sophia and I are joined by Sue of Charity Link. Now, Sue, you just before the break, you came across some great stories, some great stuff that we want to probe about. You kind of just demonstrated off air during the break, just at how efficient you are at walking. So there's some bits I do want to probe into that. But before we do, can we play a quick game?
Okay.
Now, this game is called Mystery Mishaps. Okay, now no pressure. But there is a scoreboard, and it's you versus the studio, or guests versus the studio. Molly, can we have a bit of a tally up of points? Where are we up to so far?
Currently, guest is winning
Oh.
by a long way.
Oh, oh no.
What are the exact scores then?
Since this part of the season, 10-5.
10-5?
Yeah.
You guys are slacking. You let me down.
Why is it my fault?
This does take some of the pressure off somewhat.
Yeah, exactly. So Mystery Mishaps is a very easy concept. And of course, those of you listening at home, please do play along. Put simply, I've got in my mind or on my paper a brand, a business, a company, a software, it could be whatever, that's either gone bust, it could have lost its way, had some big financial irregularities or whatever it is. Now, this one is right up your alleyway, and I didn't plan this at all. It's a UK-based retail chain.
Oh.
Okay, so I'll give you a little summary and then 5 clues. And by all means, if you get a little inkling, just shout out who you think it is.
Okay.
So they were once a heavyweight in the grocery market. High quality products, but like low prices. Very distinctive logo and convenient locations. However, in the 90s and 2000s, a combination of poor management, failure to modernise and stiff competition just started a steep decline in sales. You ready for clue number 1?
Okay.
Founded in the early 20th century, the supermarket chain was once a key player in the UK grocery market. Okay, I'll give you a couple more and then we'll see what you're thinking. So they did become famous for its in-store bakeries, which were a big draw for the customers.
I was thinking Quick Save, but I don't think they had bakeries, did they?
No, I do remember Quick Save though.
Yeah.
I do remember Quick.
My friend once fell into the Quick Save because a couple of my friends were running around on top of their shop. As you do in the 1980s, we were a bit wild and jumping on skylights, and she fell into the shop.
Oh my gosh.
I hope she landed on the loo roll. That would have been a...
She was all right, yeah.
Oh, okay. So what we've come to learn is just don't trust Sue or any of her friends anywhere.
I'm sorry, it's just the Gen X, so I'm sorry.
So in the late 1990s, it struggled to compete with both high-end supermarkets and low-cost retailers such as Aldi and Lidl.
Because when you think in-store bakery, I think of Lidl.
Lidl straight away. Yeah.
We've also got Morrison's, but Morrison's are still operating.
Bakery, yeah, they're fine.
Morrison's are still operating. So clue number 4. In an attempt to save itself, the company tried multiple rebranding efforts and even considered merging with a rival, but it wasn't enough to stop its collapse. I think when you get it, you'll
It's-
go,
it's-
oh.
It's kind of on the tip of my tongue, but I can't quite grasp it.
Yeah, I'll give. So we've got the final clue. I'll give you then another clue that may help you out a little bit. The chain went into administration in 2012, which is actually later than what I thought it had done, marking the end of an era for what was once a household name in British supermarkets. Do you want clue 5.5? Will this help?
5.5.
Yes, I think we need it.
I'll give you 5.5, then I just want final answers, okay? There was one in Leicester. 100% at least one, there could have been more, but definitely one in a very prominent location in Leicester.
I don't know. Am I going to have been aged out here if they went into administration in 2012? Or would I have known
it? You would have been around.
Yeah.
Maybe a wee baby, but you would have been around.
Well, I wouldn't have been a wee baby. I would have been 13. But
Yeah.
This is going to be really annoying because I'm going to know who it is.
Oh, the second I say it.
Yeah.
You always do.
But I just can't. I'm racking my brains.
Can we have like do you know like the colour of the logo or
I'll have a look. I generally don't know what.
grasping at
what
straws?
what
And
the
to
lo-
be fair, we played yesterday, was it? And I got it because you said no. I guessed
The branding,
C, and then
yeah.
I guessed the branding.
This has been like a bit of a draw today.
We're not. I'll help you out as best I can as game master.
What?
And I should know this as well.
You see, the annoying thing
Budgeons
is
is still going, isn't it?
okay. There seems to be a couple of variants of logo. I want to say their logo was red, with font with like a wavy underline.
Something Savers.
Quick, no.
You are.
Something.
If we were to play hot or cold, you'd be like hot right now.
Oh gosh,
It is there. Molly, what are we thinking?
no idea.
Okay.
So is it blank savers?
No, it's quite close. Let me see if I can think of.
Do I get a point?
No, definitely no point. Definitely no point. Okay, I'll tell you where it was in Leicester. I know that doesn't help the people that are listening at home because we realised that we've got a big listener base in Malawi.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
So people in Malawi won't know.
They won't know. They won't know
this
where in
is.
Leicester it was.
The site is now occupied by Morrison's.
Oh, is it the Gallows Tree Gate one?
No.
The Freeman's Common.
Yes.
What did it used to be? The Big Morrisons.
Near the big Odeon.
I already know it is Morrison.
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Right, I'm going to need final answers from you. Just give me any name you can think of, Molly.
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, Sophia.
Tesco. I don't know. I don't know.
This is why you've only got 5 points.
It's something Savers, but I can't quite grasp it, and I'm gonna be really annoyed when you tell me.
The company, Safeway.
Ah,
Oh, yeah, you see?
I was so close. I could see it. I could see the logo, but
Yeah. I knew like the second I said it.
Yeah.
Do you remember Safeway?
Mhm.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, because none of us got a point, I'll give you a point if you know where they were actually based, where they kind of originated from. Somewhere in the UK.
Yorkshire.
That might be close. I'll be honest, my geography's rubbish, Molly.
Cornwall.
Cool.
Not close to Yorkshire.
Somerset.
Oh, no,
Is
not
that
Yorkshire.
is it Where's Somerset then?
It's near Devon.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, so Molly was the closest.
Can we get a half point?
No, not at all. Not at all. So they were a major player in the UK grocery market, but failed to compete with the likes of Tesco, Sainsbury's, budget chains, tried loads of revamps, and then they were acquired by Morrison's in 2004, which then led to their brand disappearing from the UK high streets in the early 2010s.
I think I should have got a point for quick save. And the fact my friend fell into quick save from a skylight.
As game master, I say no.
Oh.
No. Love the story of her falling in, but although I spent many a day in quick save as a wee boy, absolutely. But look, before the break you shared some great. Well, I say great stories. There's also like some quite, I use the word concerning stories. Dare I say, because you hear stories similar to what you've said, like in the news, in the press, and you never think, I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid, naive, whatever it is, but you think, oh, surely that couldn't happen. But it sounds like the CEO of where you were turned the the kind of culture around. What was it like? Because you said it went from a family business into a place of, well, how did it turn into, and how did that make you feel?
Well, like I say, you wouldn't expect a culture to change that quickly by one person, and that shocked me, because it was such a great company where you could be creative, you could mess up, and it was okay. 1 year, I did all the marketing and merchandise, all the promotions in store. And we got a little bit carried away on our creativity, shall we say. And I realised I'd gone completely over budget by loads. And over Christmas, it kind of dawned on me how much I'd overspent. And I kind of went back in January thinking, right, they're just going to sack me. And I remember sat down with my previous buying director, who was such an amazing man. He's not with us now, unfortunately. And he sat down and he's kind of said, "These are the numbers." I was like, "Yes, I know, I'm really sorry." And he went, "Disappointing. Luckily, we had a really great Christmas and sales were up, and so was football, so well done." And that was how it was.
Yeah.
And everyone looked after each other. We had each other's backs. But once you have that culture change, you'll have to save every email. You have to be careful who you're talking to. And you kind of had to, having to sit in those meetings every Monday morning. So the dread would start Saturday evening, and we'd have the footfall figures and sales figures come through on our mobiles all weekend. So if it was a good weekend, if the footfall was up, sales were up, like for like. I think, well, it's not going to be so bad. If they were down, you knew it was going to be awful. And, who just humiliate people on a regular basis. There was, colleagues in tears all the time. It just wasn't a nice environment, and it prevented us from being creative and trying things. We just did what we had to do the job and go home, and it just had such a negative impact. Last week, just completely randomly, I spoke to my original chief executive, the one who ran down the stairs, because my husband's a web developer and he's his client, and they happened to be talking while I was working from home, and I could hear my husband talking about me to somebody, because I'd been in London the week before at a Centre of Social Justice event, and I heckled Ian Duncan Smith about universal credit. Mainly because, I don't know whether you feel this, ladies, but when there's particularly older men and there's 3 of them and you go in to join the conversation, they obviously don't want you there, because it's like, you have nothing to add to our conversation. I was thinking, I'm not having that. So I literally elbowed my way into the conversation. I was like, "Hello, Ian." My name's Sue. And who kind of could feel him going, "Oh, go away." I was thinking, you're supposed to be networking with these charities. That's why you're here. And so I thought, right. So, Ian, how do you feel about the implementation of universal credit? So obviously Paul was telling this caller about this, and I could hear him. So, who's he talking to? So I was like, "So who are you talking to?" And he went, "Oh, I'm talking to our previous chief executive, Chris." I was like, "Oh, Chris." So I ended up chatting to him on the phone, and he was going, "I can't believe Finn's 18. He's off to university. It feels like 5 minutes ago when it all happened." And such a lovely man. And he's been, he went off and been successful. And he said, "I'm so proud of where you are now and what you've done." Because they used to call me the Weeble, is it the Weeble Wobble man? Always just keep bouncing back up no matter what happens. And that's what they called me.
I did wonder where that explanation was going.
Is it the Weeble Wobble man? It's probably from the 70s. I'm going back now. I said, "No, Chris, I still keep bouncing back up, regardless."
Do you think those two experiences, obviously you've seen like what good leadership looks like, and you've seen what bad leadership looks like, has that helped you kind of understand your own leadership style, do you feel?
Massively. There were so many, like the chief executive, my marketing buying director, the HR director, they really, for me, formed how you should lead. And it was so lovely that I could tell Chris on the phone, and I did tell him that. I said, how you led the company, this is how I learnt my leadership style from, and I'm implementing it now. And and it was great because I said I really wanted the opportunity to thank you, and he was really touched. He was going, "Oh, don't be daft," and I said, "No, Chris, really, because you need space to." To be able to thrive in a supportive environment where we're all human, we all make mistakes, who doesn't? And things go wrong and things happen in your life, and, we can't separate life and work, as much as we, to a degree we can do, but you can't do that. And we're all human, we're all people. And as long as you know that your team are committed and dedicated, and you can empower them and support them to be the best they can, and you trust them for their expertise and their knowledge, and you listen to their expertise and knowledge, why employ people on particular expertise and knowledge and then don't listen to them? So the two have kind of really formed the kind of really positive, and how not to be has really informed how I am as a leader. And, I hope my team would say that, they agree with that.
Well, they've actually wrote in. No, I'm joking. Final thing from me, because I realise I've done loads of talking again. You've mentioned two things there that kind of, I'll use the word hurt me, but not like because of you've attacked me, because like I don't realise things like this go on. You mentioned obviously the old CEO who was he had his girls, he had his ladies.
Yeah,
I think
he called them his girls.
His girls, and then you mentioned obviously sometimes feeling in some rooms where it's like a boys only kind. I mean, have you ever experienced that? Is that still a thing?
Absolutely. I think it's the kind of thing where when men hear about it, they're like, "I wasn't aware that these things still happen." Yeah. Oh my god!
But you can see the barriers around,
it exists,
can't you?
and there are obviously still, and it does happen with a certain type when you're reaching a certain level in business that it's just a boys' club. And they hold the walls up. Yeah. And what's changed is that it's become less overt, but that's made it become almost more nasty and more sort of the way that they go about this. You might not want to be one of his girls, but naturally then that means that you are on the outside and that you're pushed out and that you're ignored. And I think what you said that's really so horrible about that is that the girls that were of no threat to any kind of power, the PAs, the lower execs, they're the girls that are allowed to be sort of in because they're not trying to get to those positions, whereas the female managers and the people that do have these ideas and are able to push the business forward and should be in those top table meetings are the ones that get pushed out. Yeah. And what a waste. Yeah. What an absolute waste.
Absolutely. And it was a downfall.
Yeah. And completely these aren't beliefs that you're like, I think that that's really going to hurt the business. It did hurt the business. Yeah. And it happens constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we fix that then?
Oh, for goodness sake.
Not Rob. You and I, but like, no, but how as society?
Rob's just learnt that there's boys' club in business, and he's really upset about it.
Like I said earlier, I don't know whether I'm just naive, stupid. I don't know. Like, you don't kind of see it, and maybe sometimes that's because you're too close to the problem to see it. I don't know, but how do we offer more inclusion, and how do we stop the boys' club?
I think it needs to come from all parties. Everyone needs to be aware. I think it's the awareness. If now you're aware, and you perhaps wasn't so much previously, it's about being aware and actually looking at a situation, thinking, oh, hold on a minute, why? Yeah. Are those, the women over there, why are they not joining in our conversation? Yeah, yeah. And also calling it out when you do see it. As a man, you need to call it out.
Yeah, I think a major problem with gender inequality in the workplace is that women are trying to fix it, but the men aren't listening to the women. It doesn't matter that they're trying to fix it.
Men need to call it out
so
when you see it.
Men need to acknowledge it just as much.
There we go. I'll if I see it,
call it out.
Say it, see it sorted.
Yeah. There we go. British Transport Police.
Well, before we wrap up and before we get you some details on how people can contact you and fundraise for you, I'd like to play our final game. Okay. If that's all okay.
Well, I didn't do very well in the first one, so
no.
It's a redemption.
And I always say I'm not competitive, but I am annoyingly competitive.
So this game is a fun game. Okay, obviously the other game was really fun as well, but this one is called Jingle Tingle. So I've hunted down 3 vintage adverts, and ironic, I can't believe the like the irony of the ones that I've chosen, considering what we've just been talking about.
Okay.
But I've got 3 little jingles, 3 little adverts. I've tried to keep brand names out. You've just got to tell me who the brand is, what the product is, who the company is. Okay, so there's 3 to play. I'll play the first one now.
You're not a bird, are you?
No.
Explain the offside rule then.
A player cannot be in an advanced position of the opponent's last defender when the ball is played.
Open that. Stockings are tight.
Stockings.
Oh look! A big hairy spider!
I'm getting blank
Your
faces.
wrapper really brings out the beautiful blue of your eyes.
Really?
We're all...
Any ideas? Now, bear in mind, I had to cut off the first 2 seconds because
Okay.
she goes in and asks for the product straight away. So I had to cut that out.
So this is just is this the first one?
This is the first
Oh
one.
God.
So it's a product. I want to say it was an early 2000s, if not late 90s advert, but probably more early
Is it
2000s.
Yorkie?
It is Yorkie. 'Cause
Not
it's
for girls.
not for
Oh, yes.
girls. That's right. So the advert, if you recall, a girl goes
And
into
she's
a
like,
shop
got
dressed
proof.
as a builder.
Mm.
Don't know if you can see that
Yes.
over there. I will
Well
flash it to
done.
the camera. So 1 point to Sophia. Well done. I'll play the second one. Now this one, I think you will,
Do you know what? I brought up Yorkie the other day because I still don't eat them.
because they're not for
like
you.
a mental
I didn't.
thing.
Yeah, I didn't like that advert at all.
No. Here we go. You ready for?
I don't eat them either.
Because it used to have on the branding,
yeah.
like the girl in
Not
the
for
X,
girls.
didn't it?
Yeah.
not for girls.
Right. Ready for number 2?
We're rolling back 24-pack Walker's Crisp to £1.98.
That's less than 9p a bag.
It's best wishes to
Try.
everyone.
I'll give you a clue. Try and listen to the music in the background. It's very subtle.
So it's not a Walker's advert.
No. Let
Oh,
me
is it
try
for
and.
like a supermarket?
I'll try and bounce some sound your way. Hold on.
We roll back 50 cards to £1.58. Or a pogo stick for
Asda.
Asda. Yes.
As
to it.
Asda rollback.
Asda
I was
roll-
like, who's rollback?
Asda rollback. That's right. And you can tell from that. I also love the fact you could buy a pogo stick for £12.94.
I know Walker's. Crisp
This is what's
cheaper.
wrong with the world. I think if we could get more pogo sticks for £12.94, we'd all be okay.
I
You
wasn't.
got us
I
all
wasn't allowed one.
a thing
for
of
obvious
Freddos.
reasons.
How much did they cost the other day?
They were inflation busting. It was a multi-pack of Freddos. I think it was 5 for £1.
Oh,
Yeah,
20.
but were they smaller?
because they
though?
used to
No,
be.
genuine Freddos.
Used to be 5p when I was the first buying them. 5 pence.
Oh.
10p, 15.
Would you remember the days when you could get £1 from your mum or your dad? You could go to the shop, you get your Freddo, you get your Calypso, maybe some little pick and mix, and you'd be out for the day.
I can remember half peas.
Oh,
And we used to have a 10p mix.
10p
I'm
mix.
definitely showing my age now.
You certainly are. Right, this one's the final one. Now, this one is going to be hard.
Okay.
Okay, but if you do get it, you'll get it. If I tell you who it is, you'll be like, ah, okay, we're ready. It's quite a long one, this one is.
I remember this.
You remember it? Any initial ideas? It's a bank.
Yeah.
Is it NatWest? Actually, I'm just going to shout out loads of banks.
Not NatWest. Not NatWest. We'll keep going.
HSBC.
Not HSBC.
Barclays.
Lloyds.
Not Lloyds. 2000s this was.
Alliance and
Halifax.
Leicester.
Halifax.
Yes, I got one. I've been redeemed.
No, you got that bang on. So this was the original. I don't know if you remember
It was
him.
the guy, wasn't it?
Howard. I don't know where
Yeah.
Howard came
Yeah.
from, and I don't
The
know.
legend.
That was him. Do you
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
him?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Howard. And then he went on to do loads of adverts.
Yeah.
Time and time again for Halifax. Didn't he go on Celebrity Big
He
Brother
went- yeah,
or something? Wonder what he's up to now. Wonder if he wants to come on the podcast.
I did-
Howard,
I
we
did-
want you.
I did work for the Halifax for a while at their head office as well.
Did
yeah.
you?
Yes, I've got another falling out.
Oh, here we go.
There's a common theme
I
here.
was working in the mortgage redemption department, and we'd have to go down to the post room and collect all the checks. And I had £1 million worth of checks, and I was going up the stairwell, and I tripped, and I dropped them all down down the middle section of the stairs.
So, welcome back to how I fell in business.
I've still got a scar on my knee from that.
We're on story 17 of how many times Sue has fallen over. Well, Sue, look, it's been a pleasure getting to know you. It's been a pleasure sitting down with you and learning more about your story and your journey. And I think once again, we always say this to a lot of guests, but I think there's a lot we could probably dive deeper in, and maybe would love to get you back at some stage
It'd be a pleasure
to run through those. And we'll make sure that you're wearing flats on the day. We'll make sure there's no trip hazards around or anything at all. But I know you mentioned them earlier, but once again, how do people get in touch with Charity Link? How can people fundraise? How's best to contact you?
Yeah, all our information's on our website, and that's charity-link.org. You can email us at info@charity-link.org. There's lots of ways to get involved, whether that's our challenges that we have, or our Pride Business Supporter Club, or doing fundraising in your community. We are with you the whole way, and we will support you, and we'd love to hear from you, even if you just want to find out a little bit more about what we do.
Amazing. And I've been to a couple of your events. They're not only a great cause and a good way to give to the local community, they are a bloody good laugh as well, and everything else in between. So make sure you leave your details in the show notes below. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Would you like to sign off? I've done all the
bring it
talking today. You can take this one.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode of How I Failed in Business. We will be back again on Friday with our overview episode, and I'm sure that's going to be lots of fun. And then you can catch us, as always, every Tuesday for our next interview episode. And if you would like to come on the podcast as a guest, you can send us an email to howifailedinbusiness@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM. We are How I Failed in Business Podcast just about everywhere. You can also send us in a story anonymously to either the How I Failed in Business pages, or you can send a DM straight to me and Rob Spence and Sophia Grace. And until the next one, bye.